Welcome back to the Black Jersey. It's your boy Max hosting the channel, and today we're finally going to talk about how the Crusaders won Super Rugby Aotearoa and got a 5th straight title under the coaching of Robertson. The first talking point I want to bring up for the video is the fact that the Crusaders have been decimated lately by losing a lot of experienced players. Over the years, they've started to lose Kieran Reid, Seta Tamanivalu, they've lost Owen Franks, they've lost Dan Carter, Richie McCaw in the last 7 years, and so over the last 7 years they really have lost a lot of experienced players, but the Crusade just keeps going on, and it's just so good to see, and the depth just never seems to tire out with these players. And something that I think's been real big for the Crusaders under Scott Robertson is their team culture. Now, a lot of the other teams, they just line up, sign with their fans after the game if they get a win, and the fans are standing at the sidelines waiting to see their favourite player. The Crusaders always let all the fans onto the field. They have yarns with them, they meet up with them, and it's just real awesome to see after every game, seeing the wives, the partners, the kids on the field. It's just appearing to be so much of a friendly family environment for those players, and a lot of them really seem to love the team. Off the field, a lot of them do seem to hang out quite a lot as well, some of them flatting, so there's a really good team culture going on, and you can see that work ethic translating to the field. The ball handling's just so brilliant. There's so many great phases of play that go on, until finally the ball gets stolen at the breakdown. The Crusaders' ball handling is definitely the best in Super Rugby right now, and that's because the guys are always communicating so brilliantly. The communication is on point, they're always talking, they know where they need to be, they've listened very well to their coaches, they've done their homework. And now we're going to move on to the second point since I've brought up the coaches, that's that scrum. Even without Joe Moody, the scrum has been alright under Jason Ryan's scrum coaching. George Bower's developed really well. Jason Ryan's such a good scrum coach, and he's trimming a lot of fat off these players. Michael Alalatoa and George Bower came into the culture as such shy young men, and now they're just world-class props, just hammering away at the scrum. Oliver Jager's developed very well. Tamaiti Williams is really growing into his body. Fletcher Newell seems to have some promise as well. Then obviously Joe Moody's continued to play very well under Jason Ryan's scrum tutelage. You've had Owen Franks since leave. You've had just so many world-class props and hookers just bringing their scrummaging to the next level. And the loose forwards for the Crusaders, none of them are world-class, but all of the loose forwards do seem to be very similar in terms of their skill. Quinton Strange and Mitchell Dunshea have been worked into great Super Rugby players from very young boys, and although they're never going to be All Black legends, they've definitely done a lot of that work off the field. Scott Barrett's developed into a surprisingly very good captain. Sam Whitelock's looking a lot more trim than he used to a few years back. His career's not ending anytime soon. You've also got Cody Taylor having a massive season so far. Cody Taylor was both the top tackler and also the top try scorer in Super Rugby Aotearoa, so hats off to Cody Taylor. That is why I named Cody Taylor as my player of the season. Those forwards, even though they've lost so many All Blacks, the pack keeps going and going. The driving maul's still effective, the breakdown's still great, and even without a specialist open side flanker on the field, they were still getting quite a lot of ball off those Chiefs in the final for Super Rugby Aotearoa. Mitchell Drummond and Richie Mo'unga have really pulled the strings along for those Crusaders as well. Everyone who supports Beauden Barrett seems to find every possible reason to belittle Mo'unga and every possible reason to promote Barrett as a better player than Dan Carter, but Richie Mo'unga is just taking his game to new heights season on season, and he looked very promising in the last year of Todd Blackadder's stint as the coach, but under Razor, Richie's just grown and grown and grown. Mitchell Drummond's development was halted a wee bit by Bryn Hall's presence, but Drummond's always looking sharp, he's looking lively on the field. Eddie Anardi's also a good person to call up if somebody's injured at 9. The outside backs are actually the strongest point for the Crusaders in my opinion too. A long time ago, it was always the forward pack everyone was talking about, but the Crusaders just have to have an endless supply of outside backs nowadays. They converted Leicester Fainga'anuku into a 13 when Jack Goodhue got ruled out for the season. David Havili's been class at 12. He just can't get a start in that fullback jersey because Will Jordan is not having second-year syndrome anytime soon. George Bridges come back from injury firing. Sevu Reece is very fast and explosive. Manasa Mautaeli is always going to be a good guy, and I think he'll end up playing for Fiji. Josh Mackay got taken in from the Highlanders, and Josh Mackay is a good person to get on the field, and hopefully he can make his debut soon. The Crusaders are just class in every facet of the field. I know that the midfield is possibly a weak spot for them, but Dallas McLeod does look promising. Braden Ennell's just come back from his torn ACL, so in complete honesty, the reason the Crusaders won is because they've got so much depth and because these players are paying so much attention to their coaching. Even the smallest guys are lifting a lot in the gym. They're just absolute professionals. They've got the facilities, they've got the physios looking after them. They know how to handle pressure well as well. Everyone seems to talk about how Richie Mo'unga can't handle pressure, and yet in a lot of these situations this season, he's actually been the guy kind of getting them out of the rabbit hole, because the thing is, the game plan that the Crusaders have has been made to adjust for the players that Razor has been selecting over the last few years. And no matter who he calls up as injury cover, it just keeps trucking along because these guys know how to deal with the game plan and the calls have been so easily written. It's just such an easy plan for the players, whatever they're doing, and that's why it works so well. Scott Robertson's got a very high rugby IQ from what I can see, and that's the reason I think he should have been chosen over Fozzie as the All Blacks coach. Robertson has now won 8 trophies in 8 years as a Super Rugby head coach and Mitre 10 Cup head coach. He also coached the New Zealand under-20s a few times, so he's got a few more trophies from that. I think it was just the one, but whatever. Still a trophy, right? But yeah, Scott Robertson, I think, has definitely had an injustice done to him by New Zealand Rugby, and so hopefully next year he's going to be the All Blacks head coach, and hopefully the Crusaders aren't going to start falling down and need a revival after Scott Robertson goes, because one thing I do see with the Crusaders is that the new blokes coming up from Canterbury may not possibly be good enough to inherit such a legacy, because Canterbury didn't do too well in the Mitre 10 Cup last year. Anywho though, they've won again, so it's time for them to continue celebrating and continue playing well as the Trans-Tasman series keeps on going. Thank you so much for watching the channel, guys. It's been a pleasure to make this video, and make sure to go down there, give a like and subscribe, and watch the next video. I'll see you later.